Welcome to Season 2 of Guardians of Gaia, connecting people to planet, our collective home where all life form exists in a common ecosystem. I'm Megan Edwards, and we will explore the environmental world and learn how people are working to save the planet and fight the system that is killing it. We know that climate change is existing and how it's impacting people and the planet today, locally and globally. But what is climate change and how is it affecting fellow South Africans? And how do we tackle climate change individually and as a collective for a sustainable future? So stay tuned with me on Cape Town TV as we explore South Africans in the fight against climate change. If you or someone you know is actively fighting climate change in your community, or if you wish for us to come and tackle a very specific environmental issue, then please email us at gog@capetowntv.org. Do you hear talks of climate change and wonder how it all happens? Well, let's watch and see the basics of how greenhouse gases affects the Earth with climate change in 60 seconds.
Climate change has become a huge issue lately, to the point where it's not only rocking the world of science, but politics as well. Yet, many people are still unaware of what climate change is and what some of the potential implications are. So in this video, we'll be going over the basic concept of climate change. The sun's rays take roughly 8 minutes to travel that 93 million mile distance to Earth, where it will light up our beautiful skies. The thing is that the sun doesn't just release those golden rays of light we see in the morning. It releases radiation in other parts of the electromagnetic spectrum, like UV or the infrared radiation we feel in the form of heat. Sometimes the emitted infrared radiation will be reflected back into space when it hits Earth, but other times that reflected infrared radiation can be trapped by a layer of gas in our atmosphere called greenhouse gases, which typically consist of water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, and most infamously carbon and carbon dioxide. Imprisoned by that pesky greenhouse gas, the infrared radiation has nowhere else to go and remains on Earth, where it begins to heat up the planet, a phenomenon we have come to call global warming. Global warming can have many implications. For example, it can melt glaciers, which can result in sea levels rising. It can also cause more evaporation, leading to more precipitation, which can change the weather patterns in certain areas, causing it to become wetter or drier. This change in overall weather patterns in certain regions is called climate change. Climate change isn't just wreaking havoc via droughts and rising sea levels. In Siberia, for example, the permafrost is now thawing out and may potentially release many bacteria and viruses that are trapped inside. Of course, that's just one of the many problems we're facing now. In our climate change series, we'll be taking a look at the more complicated consequences of climate change, as well as some of the solutions scientists are working on to give our blue rock a second chance. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, don't forget to stay tuned for more science videos.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, released their 6th report in August, which assesses the most up-to-date scientific information on climate change. One major update is that the increase in global average temperature of 1.5 degrees Celsius, which was predicted to occur in 60 years, will now happen in 20 years. Here's more from the IPCC report.
Thanks, Megan. I'm Ndlela.
And I am Apiwe Mdunyelwa from Environmental Monitoring Group.
Importantly, the report confirms that human influence has warmed the atmosphere, ocean, and land. It proves without doubt that there is a link between human activities and climate change. Some of the key findings are that since the 1980s, every decade has been warmer than the last. And as a result, global surface temperatures has risen just over 1 degree Celsius since 1850 because of human activities, especially burning of fossil fuels. This human activity causing climate change is having an impact on the water cycle, changing rainfall patterns, storm occurrences, sea levels, and the amount of salt in the sea. So, what can we expect to see happening? Intensification of tropical cyclones and storms like we have seen in Mozambique, river floods, fire weather like the fire in Cape Town earlier this year, increased overall rainfall, and increased dryness resulting in prolonged and more regular drought like we see in the Eastern Cape and saw in Cape Town during the Day Zero drought. Increases in sea temperatures will affect sea life and fishing. Work with fisher communities is already showing changes in the amount and types of fish.
Climate change will have an impact on everything from agriculture production and our ability to grow crops, our fish to human health, and access to basic necessities like water. Scarily, the report also shows that the 2015 Paris Agreement will not reduce the carbon emissions enough to avoid serious impacts on the climate change and the integrity of all life on the planet. This is serious. It affects the whole planet. Everyone on Earth will be affected by this change, but those with more money are less vulnerable to these changes. They are also responsible for the most carbon emissions. Researchers at Oxfam have found that the wealthiest 10% of the population are responsible for 49% of individual emissions, and the richest 1% emits 175 times more carbon than the poorest 10%. Climate change is an environmental rights issue. It's about justice for people and the planet. There is no way to stop climate change without ending the banning of fossil fuels. And there is no way to ensure justice if the big polluters and the rich are not held to account and forced to change the way they live and produce. Governments have an important role in ensuring this happens and that our economies change from producing for profit to producing for people.
The recent global climate strike all over the world showed what people really feel about climate change and what they think could sustain our planet. After the break, we will bring you the views of South Africans from the global climate strike at Parliament in Cape Town. Stay with us.